Hi, welcome to Dory's Gardens, where inspiration awaits beyond the lavender gate. And today we are going to make some new friends. So there's a song we used to sing back in the day. It goes, make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other gold. So keep all your old friends, but make some new ones and introduce them to the ones in your garden, and we'll have some nice complementary plants to grow together. So I went through and found a lot of them that some are familiar to me, but maybe not to you, and some that I have never even heard of. But this is one called a skullcap. So this is going to be another show and tell. So it is wonderful. It's a perennial. It comes in pink and lavender. And I just saw that at one of my clients' yards, and I planted one this size last year. It's about 4 times as big this year and just glorious, really coming out right now. So that's an awesome one. I'm going to show you the perennials first. And this is a Texas primrose. So I had been calling it a sundrop. And then I saw a plant by the side of the road that looked just like this but bigger. And so I got out my little app. If you've never heard of it, it's called Picture This. It's a free app. You take a picture of the plant and it identifies it, tells you all sorts of information. So I highly recommend that. So this is a wonderful thing that that comes back too. And then I found one that looked a lot like the one in the wild, and they're called the Ozarka primrose. So wonderful. See, they're cousins. Make friends. So then let's see what else we have. Here is a sun patient. Usually you see them in just the green leaf. This is glorious with this yellow, especially if you do plant it in a little bit of shade, because it gives color even before you get the bloom. Now this one will have a hot pink bloom on it. They're thirsty plants, so put them where they can soak up the moisture. They are just an annual there. So while I'm on annuals, I'm going to move around here. I found some great tropicals. This some people call the shrimp plant. They're calling it a lemon lollipop. Maybe the same variety. It looks so similar to the orangey one I have. But it's just lovely. And see these little bracts here? How they have some green and yellow, and then it turns into this lovely bloom. And then you've probably heard of esperanzas. Typically they're yellow. They are kind of a tender perennial. A lot of people get them to come back every year. But this orange one, look at that. I've never seen one that color. So there's a new friend. Then I just advertised this plant this week. This is a candle tree. Now, it doesn't look like much now, but it probably grows a foot a week, because at the end of the season in October, it is about 15 feet tall with these glorious yellow blooms, just when you're wanting something interesting to bloom out. So I'm gonna take this tag out and see if Michelle can go in on it. You can kind of see what the bloom looks like there. So it's way worth it. You have to harvest the seeds or get a new one next year, because it will die back in our climate here. Down south in Florida, they probably grow them all the time. Let's see. So it's the same thing with this tropical. Now this will come back every year. This is a Texas bird of paradise. Looks like this scrungy little bush. But when you get a bloom on this baby, it is like, what is that? So look at this new friend. I don't know if you can see, it's kind of dirty, but it's really bizarre looking. So it's got the yellow and the red blooming going on in it. So that's a nice one. Let me come along here to the Beatrice. I might have shown you this before, but that is just a crazy looking thing. And so it probably needs to be in a pot about 3 times as big or in the ground. But these are going to be lavender stalks that come up. And I've actually dug these up in the wild before, but not that beautiful. So those are very fun. Jerusalem sage. Some people might think that this is a lamb's ear. It's very close, but it has a yellow bloom on it, kind of a whirling bloom on it, where the lamb's ear is more lavender. So that's a new friend you can put into the garden. And so you can look up all the different exposures. Now this is a sun or shade, so that we're getting into the shade plants then over here. So these are wonderful. These are all perennials. This is called a farfugium. I mean, who doesn't love that word, farfugium? And it looks like a big toadstool, and the leaves get bigger and bigger and bigger. Then at the end of the season, it has this weird looking spire with orange flowers on it. So that's a bonus surprise. But this is great in a tropical garden by a pond or someplace where it's a little moist. Mix it with your elephant ears and your cast iron. So this elephant ear everybody's seen an elephant ear, but look at this red stalk. This was bred to take the sun. So probably not our hot afternoon suns, but some good sun. And I've seen it, and this stalk just turns even redder. So this comes back, and that's wonderful. Bear's breech, I don't know if you've heard of these. Washington State, they get humongous. People make these castings out of them. And they typically die back a bit in the summer, but they're really nice for the shade, a shade accent plant with a fatsia, or again, some of these ones over here. Moving right along, everybody's seen a cast iron, but have you seen one with thin leaves like that and spots? I don't think so. I hadn't. So I think they call this Milky Way, which is a good name for it because it looks like a bunch of stars all over the leaf. So I like that because it's delicate. It would be a nice in a shade pot for the center, for the thriller. And you could put some other impatiens and things around it. And these are some nice, couple of these are woodland type plants. This is an evergreen. It looks a lot like a rosemary. It is a deciduous, no, it's an evergreen shrub. And so it will spread out, but I wish I had shown it a week or so ago because they're beautiful little blue star flowers on it. You can just kind of see one that's gone there, but it's really lovely. And then this begonia, of course, you need to bring this in the winter, but look at that pop of color for the shade. So a lot of times I'll put a pot in the garden and then I can bring it in the winter and save it for next year. So this is a, let's see what this one's called. Red Robin. What a good name for this one. So glad to meet you, Red Robin. And you look very nice next to this Brunera. And I thought this was this real invasive plant, but it's not so much. It's clumpy and it's a collector's plant. So I found out. And this is called Sea Heart. So this is something that you want to put in the garden. Apparently in the springtime it has these little spires of pink and blue, kind of forget-me-not flowers. So that's a bonus too. So look at that, how that would just pop. Okay, moving right along, some more tropicals. This is new to me. I think I have seen these when they're big. This is a firecracker Crossandra. So it is a tropical, treat it like a hibiscus, but look at that color next to a swimming pool or in a pot. Lovely. And you know, putting these together, you know, that really makes a tropical statement. So again, this may come back, don't count on that coming back. Now, you may have seen balloon flowers. Typically they're blue, but I got this soft pink one, and see how aptly that's named. Look at that little balloon, and it opens up into this lovely thing. Now these really like to be deadheaded. They'll keep the blooms going and going, and they like a little bit of shade, but it is a perennial. And phlox, you know I love phlox, as much phlox as you can put in the garden. And this is, they call it a red. It's hard to get a true red, but that's a lovely pink that's really going to show up. So they call this the Flame series, and this is supposed to be red. Again, typically it's more of a pink or purple. Bee balm is wonderful, takes over the world. Monarda, but I hadn't seen this one. The proven winners, anytime you see a proven winners plant, they have tested it and done trials with it in people's gardens and out in the field, and it's proven to be a winner. So usually it's a good purchase to get. So this has kind of gone off a little bit. It'll come out again, but it was a different color, a little bit lighter lavender than the typical purple one. So that's another new friend. So let's see what we have over here. Okay, I'm going to cross in front of you. Sorry, kids. So here we go into these euphorbias. Now typically I get the tiny tin that is yellow variegated leaf, but I love this silvery gray. I mean, that will just really show up. And these do come back. Keep them in a pot or a real dry area. So that's awesome. And then here's a different one that has more of a gray green. So it's the same family, but totally different. You know, brothers and sisters can look different. Well, they look different. Then you get into the autumn sedum, which is a real common plant, but look at this variegated one, and it is going to get a pink bloom on it. I love this. It will come back too, and you can starts off really easy. These stalks, you can just break off, and let's see here. Well, see how it's on those different stalks? You can just break one of those off and put it in the ground. It'll start a whole new plant. So that's super easy. And then these I just got in. I've had these before, but they're so amazing. Echeveria nodulosa. Always a little nervous about those pronunciations, but look at the stripes in that, and you're going to get a bloom to boot. And I did overwinter this outside under plastic, under cover with Christmas lights for the heat. And it made it through, so that was awesome. And here's another stone crop slash sedum, variegated again. So that will make a nice massive ground cover. So that's a little bit different. So we saved this one for the last. It's called a rue. And I was going through and reading about it, and I've always heard of rue, but didn't really know what it was about. But I'll just give you a few interesting facts. It's actually called the herb of grace because in the Catholic Church, oftentimes they'll dip a piece of rue in the holy water and then bless the babies or whoever they're going to bless. So it was used for that. In ancient Roman times, they mixed it with poisonous oleander, and supposedly it helped to deter any effects from being bit by a poisonous snake. I don't recommend that. And I thought it was very interesting. You can use it as an herb. It's a bit bitter, but it's supposed to sharpen your eyesight and also dissipates flatulence. So if you don't know what that means, look it up. But that may be another reason why it's called herb of grace for everybody around you if you eat this. So anyways, interesting, the history of plants and where they came from, how they got their name. And so it's really fun to make acquaintances with all these new babies. So I hope you have fun exploring, and if you want to come to Dory's Gardens and look at them more and see how they're used in the landscape, please come. So until next time, garden with inspiration.